What's going on, guys? Today we're going to take you on a walkthrough tour of the worst flood, well, one of the worst floods that I've ever dealt with, and we're going to show you how we're going to fix it and get it so that it's rent ready. So with all that being said, let's jump into it. Now, I had to clarify one of the worst floods because I've had some pretty bad floods over the 10 years of investing, but this one happened almost 2 years ago when the whole city of Idaho Falls was underwater. It was the craziest flood that we've ever seen.
New this morning, a local fire department has a warning about flooding due to excessive rain. The Idaho Falls Fire Department says to avoid all roadways west of Woodruff Avenue. They responded to multiple cars stuck on roadways due to rising water. Also avoid underpasses. Multiple vehicles were stranded at the Yellowstone and D Street underpass. Multiple lanes of traffic have been blocked, and almost every street downtown has been impassable.
Now, at the time of this flood, I was completely MIA, and luckily Jay stepped in and went over to the property, and these are some of the pictures that he got. You can see on the outside there's so much water in this section of Idaho Falls, and there really wasn't any good way to keep it from getting into this basement. The basement took on a ton of water in all of these rooms, and it just really gives you an idea of how bad this flood really was, and a little bit of an idea of what the apartment looked like. And unfortunately, there were tenants in it at the time, and so Jace had to find a way to get them into a completely different unit and then get to work on stripping everything out so that we didn't end up with mold or other issues.
And there's a little more of the story that I wanted to share with you before we go and show you the damage and what we're going to do about it. So here's the short and condensed version. This was my grandparents' house, so I spent a ton of time here growing up. And it's had multiple renovations because my grandpa was a carpenter, and every time they had the money or the need for another little add-on, they would do it to this house. So as you walk through the house, you can see it started as a very small footprint and has turned into over 3,000 square feet with a garage in the back. Now, my grandpa was a master carpenter, made some beautiful things, but it's also fun to see on this home how they would do certain things to save money when they would take on those renovations. And so you can see you've got different siding here, from here, from here. And a lot of times he would take stuff from the job site that he didn't end up needing and hold on to it. And he was also a little bit of a hoarder when it came to wood. Underneath the deck, there is still tons of wood. As a matter of fact, we'll go show you really quick. So as you can see, there is a ton of scraps. In this shop is where he would do a lot of his carpentry work, and this is back behind the property. But you've got tons of wood here that growing up as a kid, we were always back here tinkering. If you walk around here, and keep in mind, a lot of this has been removed, but still you can see, and I probably shouldn't say hoarder because he was very organized, but he had tons and tons of wood that was stored back here. And over the last couple years since I've owned it after they passed away, it really isn't in the state that I would like it to be. Now, the biggest reason this has fallen into a little bit of disrepair is 2 years ago when we got hit by that storm was the same week that my wife Maddy ended up passing away. And when we bought this property, we picked it up mostly because we didn't want it to go to anyone else and we wanted to keep it in the family. It was kind of a sacred place for me. It was also where we ended up staying for a couple weeks before moving into our new home. And then when that storm hit, I was just down and out for an extended period of time and just hadn't really wanted to deal with it. So I told the property management company to come and strip the basement to get the upstairs rented, and I would deal with it down the road. So here we are 2 years down the road. The basement has room for an apartment, and as a matter of fact, it was used for multiple family members where my grandparents were living upstairs and they'd open up their basement for newly married couples, friends, family to be able to go and stay. And since that flood, it's just been stripped. So we're gonna show you what it looks like now and then talk to you about what the plans are moving forward. Now, the design on this is probably the biggest issue we had with the flood because we don't have a drain down here. That's one of the reasons that it's covered. And never have we had water that's gotten here. The real issue is that the streets were literally filled with water. In some areas, we had 2 or 3 feet of water just because nothing was built to handle the kind of storm that we had hit. And for me, I don't know, this is a weird thing. I've stayed away from even dealing with it. And, that was an extremely hard week and months to follow. We feel like it's time to take this on. This was going to be a project that me and Maddy, we kind of wanted to turn this into something cool. We were thinking maybe a vacation rental or something like that. And obviously our plans got flipped upside down. We have awesome tenants upstairs. It's actually a care facility, so there's on-site people watching over people here. And so it's a great lease upstairs. We're not going to mess with that at all. But I do want to get the landscape looking a lot nicer. We're going to be tearing out some of the trees in the front and then we're going to be getting this basement apartment ready to rent to someone, and it's going to be a full reno. So let's take you inside and let you see. So if you want to follow down here, as you can see, it's just a mess. It literally has been just abandoned the last couple of years. We had tons of water down here. This used to be the luxury vinyl plank. We had carpet in the bedroom, and then we had some tile and some more plank over here in the living area. And so this is a main living room that what we're going to do, if you can see, there's still the original knob and tube, and there's also a mix of some newer stuff. It's always fun for me to look at this and just kind of wonder how much of this work my grandpa did forever ago, because I'm sure the majority of it was done by him a really long time ago. But we are going to replace all of the electrical down here. We're then going to re-sheetrock, re-floor. We're going to rip out the entire bathroom. We're going to turn it into a one-bedroom apartment. But pretty much everything is going to be stripped and start new, including the electrical. And we're hoping to get it done here in the next month or two. Try and get a really quick turnaround because we've got our full team ready to rock and roll. But if you want to walk in here, you can see there was kind of a kitchen area set up. The other thing that's really fun about this space is when I was a kid, this is where my mom and grandma taught preschool. So it seemed so much bigger down here back when they were doing that. Looking at it now, it's like, man, this is a very small space. But I did preschool here growing up, and then this had since been added to turn it into an apartment. It really was in good shape. I know it doesn't look it right now, but I'm really excited to get everything cleaned up and fixed. If you come over here, you can see that we've got a bedroom here and then the bathroom in here. We're going to have to strip all of that. And I told Jace, not really because of a money thing, but more just because this was always here as a kid. If we can salvage this, I want to, and I know that might sound funny, but it's just one of those things that is worth keeping around, and it won't really affect the rents for a unit like this if we have everything else done up. I might change my mind on that, but that was one piece that seemed hard to let go. So we'll be ripping out the shower, redoing all of the walls, ripping out the toilet, pretty much starting from scratch. Now, the thing that's unique about this property that I wanted to show you is because it has multiple renovations, it's a really weird layout. So we're thinking of cutting this off, and I'll show you back here. When we were kids, this little closet was full of toys. Since the flood, it just looks kind of nasty down here. But over here, my grandparents always had family over, so we'd have chairs and tables in here, and then storage over here. And then they were really big into food storage. So in this room, we had a bunch of food storage, and back then this was open to the upstairs. So you can see we blocked this off for the tenant upstairs. I wasn't even part of that. I think Jace just did what he needed to. He's my property manager to get the upstairs rented. And at the time, I should have told him to just do the project and make the decisions on it. But I said I wanted to wait because I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. And I waited 2 years to take it on. So this space is going to be weird. The thing that is neat about it is if you look in here, you've got this other big open room. And then this goes out the back. But you can't even get in and out of that door because of the wood pile in the back. It's interesting that that's open. Probably shouldn't be open. So we've got some serious work to do, but I think I'm probably just going to leave this space as storage because I don't know that I can actually turn it into anything that is usable. So we're going to have to see what the plan is there, but for now, that is the main plan, to add that other apartment, get this all cleaned up, and so that we can rent out the basement. And this is one of those units where we'll probably only rent it to close family or friends. Just because it's my grandma's house, we want to make sure we have phenomenal tenants in here. And it's one of those things that we just wanted it to be something to, I don't know, help people close. It's grandma's house, and so I want to be careful about who we put in it. All right, guys, this has been kind of a funky video. Hopefully we've given you the lay of the land on our plans. I'm not completely confident that we shouldn't find a way to use this space over there. That's kind of weird. So we might think that through another day or two. But we've already got electricians coming to come and strip and put in new electrical. And then we're going to run with this as soon as we solidify those plans. But this video, more than anything, was just to show you the damage and a chance for me to kind of talk it through. This property is meaningful in lots of ways. It's hard in lots of ways, but I'm excited to get it back to a state that is rentable and clean. And more than anything, I have a lot of properties and we try to take pride in all of them. And in a lot of ways, this one just needs a good facelift so that it is up to our standard and hopefully my grandparents' standard, because right now it is not there. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this more, on the personal side property. If you're curious about how we picked it up, essentially my grandparents had a reverse mortgage. So we just had to buy it back from the bank once they had passed away. And so it wasn't necessarily a screaming deal. It was just a meaningful property to me. And now we've got the upstairs cash flowing well. We picked it up at a low interest rate when we did purchase it. And now we'll be able to renovate this basement and get it rented out. But hopefully that, gave you an idea of some of the things that we have to deal with. Obviously, this flood is super discouraging. I'm sure one of the big questions will be, is insurance covering it? For a natural disaster like this, we do not have insurance that covered it. So that all falls on us. And so we're just gonna have to pay for the full reno, and that's just part of the game. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure remember to like, subscribe, hit the little bell so you can follow. And let me know if you've got questions about this property and if you would like to see the final finished product. And if so, we'll look forward to seeing you in that video.